The diplomatic station called Nexus Prime floated in the empty space between three star systems. It belonged to no one and everyone at the same time. Here, the great species of the galaxy came to talk instead of fight. Here, wars ended and treaties began. Ambassador Daniel Carter stood in the main council chamber and felt the eyes of 100 alien species watching him. Humanity had joined the Galactic Council only 15 years ago. To beings who lived for centuries, humans were still the new children at the table. Small, weak, unimportant. Daniel didn't mind. He had learned long ago that being underestimated was its own kind of weapon. The hegemony demands an answer, High Counselor said. His voice echoed through the vast chamber. He was tall, nearly 8 feet, with dark green scales and yellow eyes that never blinked. His people had conquered 30 star systems. They feared nothing. Daniel kept his hands folded behind his back. The answer remains the same, High Counselor. Earth will not surrender the 3 colony worlds. They belong to humanity under established territorial law. His claws scraped against the metal railing of his platform. Those worlds contain minerals my people need. Your colonies are young, weak. You cannot defend them. That may be true, Daniel said calmly, but they are still ours. Behind Daniel, his son Sam sat in the observation area reserved for diplomatic aides. He was 24 years old, with short brown hair and quiet gray eyes. He wore a simple suit and sat with his hands resting on his knees. Nothing about him seemed special. He looked like exactly what he was supposed to be, a young man learning his father's trade. Most aliens glanced at him and forgot he existed within seconds. If they looked closer, they might have noticed small things: the pale scars across his knuckles, the way he sat perfectly still, without the nervous movements most humans made, the slight limp when he walked, so minor that it was almost invisible, the way his eyes moved constantly, tracking every guard, every exit, every weapon in the room. But no one looked closer. Why would they? He was just a human. Leaned forward on his platform. You test my patience, Ambassador. Perhaps you need motivation to reconsider. He gestured with one clawed hand. 4 guards moved through the chamber. They walked past Daniel without stopping. They climbed the steps to the observation area. They stopped in front of Sam. Daniel turned slowly. His face showed nothing. High Counselor, what are you doing? I am providing motivation, said. There was pleasure in his voice. Your son will be my guest until you see reason. Once you surrender the colonies, he will be returned. Unharmed, perhaps, if you cooperate quickly. The guards grabbed Sam by the arms and pulled him to his feet. He didn't struggle. His face went pale and his eyes went wide, like any frightened young man. Please, Sam said softly, I haven't done anything. The guards ignored him. They dragged him down the steps and across the chamber floor. Other alien diplomats watched in silence. Some looked uncomfortable. Most looked away. No one wanted to anger the hegemony over a single human. Daniel stood perfectly still as his son was dragged past him. Father, Sam called out. His voice trembled. Father, please do something. Daniel met his son's eyes for just a moment. Something passed between them, a message too fast and too subtle for anyone else to catch. Then Sam was gone, pulled through the chamber doors by the guards. The chamber fell silent. Spread his arms wide. You have 12 hours, Ambassador. Surrender the colonies, or your son will learn how the hegemony treats those who defy us. Daniel turned back to face the High Counselor. His movements were slow and careful, like a man trying very hard to control something inside himself. Return my son, Daniel said. His voice was quiet, almost gentle. Now. Laughed? Or what? You have no fleet here, no soldiers. You have nothing but words, and words mean nothing to the hegemony. High Counselor, Daniel took one step forward. You don't understand what you've taken. I've taken a boy, a soft, weak human child who will break easily if you force me to hurt him. Daniel shook his head slowly. No, you've taken my son, and my son is not what he appears to be. His yellow eyes narrowed. Is that a threat? It's information. You can choose what to do with it. I choose to laugh at your pathetic attempt to frighten me, turned to his aides. We are finished here. The ambassador has 12 hours to reconsider his position. The delegation left the chamber. One by one, the other species departed as well, until only Daniel remained. Commander Lisa Grant, the human military, rushed to his side. Ambassador, we need to contact Earth immediately. We need to. Lisa, Daniel held up one hand. Calm down. Calm down. They took Sam, they took your son. Yes, they did. Lisa stared at him. She had known Daniel Carter for 3 years. She had never seen him afraid of anything, but she had also never seen him like this. His face was empty. His eyes were distant. He looked like a man watching something terrible approach from very far away. Why aren't you panicking? She whispered. Daniel was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, Do you know why I brought Sam with me to this posting? You said he wanted to learn diplomacy. That's what I told everyone. The truth is different. Daniel finally looked at her. I brought him here because I thought it would be safe. I thought no one would be foolish enough to touch a diplomat's family on neutral ground. I thought I could give him a few quiet years, a chance to forget what he used to be. Lisa felt cold. What do you mean? What did he used to be? Something the galaxy hasn't seen yet. Something I prayed the galaxy would never need to see. Daniel, what is your son? Daniel Carter looked at the door where Sam had been taken. His hands were steady. His breathing was even. But there was something in his eyes that Lisa had never seen before. Have you ever wondered why humans are so good at peace, Lisa? Why we work so hard at diplomacy, at negotiation, at finding solutions without violence? Because we're civilized. No, Daniel's voice was soft. Because we know what we are when peace fails. We know it better than any species in this galaxy. We've spent 10,000 years practicing on each other. He walked toward the exit. My son asked me to give them a warning, one chance. I'm going to honor his request. After that, what happens next is their choice. Lisa watched him go. She still didn't understand. In 12 hours she would. The whole galaxy would. The detention cell on's flagship was cold and gray. A single light burned in the ceiling. The door was solid metal, 3 inches thick. There were no windows, no furniture except a hard bench built into the wall. Sam Carter sat on that bench with his back straight and his hands resting on his knees. His face was calm now. The fear he had shown in the council chamber was gone, like a mask removed after a performance. He was counting. 17 steps from the shuttle bay to this cell. 4 guards in the corridor outside. 2 security checkpoints. The power conduits ran through the ceiling, visible behind a thin metal panel. The ventilation shaft was too small for most species but might fit a human if he dislocated his shoulders. The guard rotation happened every 2 hours based on the footsteps he heard outside. Sam filed each detail away and waited. After 3 hours, the cell door opened. A young stepped inside. He was smaller than the others Sam had seen, with lighter scales and nervous movements. He carried a tray with something that might have been food. I brought you something to eat, the young said. I don't know if you can digest it, but it's better than nothing. Sam looked at him with soft eyes. Thank you, that's very kind. The seemed surprised. You're not angry. Why would I be angry at you? You're just doing your job. You didn't make the decision to take me. No, I didn't. The young set the tray down. My name is, I've been assigned to watch you. I'm Sam, it's nice to meet you. Tilted his head. You're strange, I expected you to scream or cry or try to fight. Would any of that help me? No. Then why would I do it? Sam smiled gently. Can I ask you some questions? I've never been on a ship before. I'm curious about how things work. Hesitated. His orders were simple: guard the human, keep him alive, report any problems. No one had told him not to talk. "I suppose that would be all right," said. Sam's smile widened just a little. "Thank you. Let's start with something simple. How many crew members are on this ship?" Saw no harm in answering. The human was locked in a cell. What could he possibly do with such information? So he answered. And when Sam asked about the ship's layout, he answered that too. When Sam asked about engineering sections and power systems and security protocols, explained them all. The human seemed so curious, so harmless, so grateful for the company. Never noticed that Sam repeated nothing back, asked no question twice, and never forgot a single detail. Far away on Nexus Prime, Ambassador Daniel Carter sat alone in his quarters. A single communication screen glowed in front of him. He had requested a private channel to Earth, encrypted at the highest level. The face on the screen belonged to Admiral Greg. He was an old man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had commanded human fleets for 30 years. He had seen humanity's worst and survived it. "Daniel," the Admiral said, "I received your report. Is it true? They took Sam?" "Yes." "Good God," rubbed his face. "Do they have any idea who he is?" "No, his records were sealed when he retired. As far as the galaxy knows, he's just my son, a diplomatic aide, nothing more." "And they think they've taken a hostage. They think they can use him to force Earth to surrender 3 colony worlds." Was quiet for a moment, then he said, "What do you need?" "I'm sending you a coded message. 3 words, you'll know what to do." Daniel typed the message and sent it. Read it on his screen. His face went pale. His hands gripped the edge of his desk. The message said, "Omega Protocol, Reaper." Daniel whispered, "Are you sure?" "I'm giving them a chance to return him first. A warning. If they ignore it, then yes, I'm sure. The fleet is 12 hours away from space." "Then you'd better start moving." Daniel paused. "Greg, you're not going there to rescue him. You know that, right?" "I know. You're going there to make sure no one escapes to warn the others. If Sam decides to leave no witnesses, that's his choice. Your job is containment." Nodded slowly. "Understood." He hesitated. "Daniel, I served with Sam during the uprising. I saw what he did in those tunnels. I still have nightmares about it." "So does he. That's why he retired." "If they hurt him, if they make him become that thing again, then they'll learn what humanity spent 10,000 years teaching itself." Daniel's voice was heavy. "And the galaxy will finally understand why we try so hard to be peaceful." The communication ended. Daniel sat alone in the darkness and remembered. He remembered his son at 18, volunteering for a program that didn't officially exist, a program that took soldiers and turned them into something else, something perfect and terrible. He remembered Sam coming home 5 years later, thin and silent. A boy had left. A weapon had returned. He remembered the classified reports he wasn't supposed to see. The uprising, where rebels had taken 30 civilians hostage in an underground compound. The regular military had said extraction was impossible. Too many guards, too many tunnels, too many ways for it to go wrong. Sam had gone in alone. 9 minutes later, all 30 hostages walked out alive. 47 rebel soldiers did not walk out at all. The footage from that mission was sealed at the highest level. Daniel had seen it once. He never watched it again. That was the last mission before Sam retired. He had come to Daniel with empty eyes and said, "I can't do this anymore. I need to stop. I need to be something else." And Daniel had done everything in his power to give his son that chance. A quiet job, a peaceful life, a chance to forget the thing that lived inside him. Now they had torn that away. They had dragged his son back into the darkness. They had poked the monster they didn't know existed. Daniel felt no anger. He felt something worse. He felt sorry for them. Back on the flagship, finished his shift and said goodbye to the human prisoner. Sam thanked him again for his kindness. As the cell door closed, Sam sat back down on the bench. He closed his eyes and organized everything had told him. He knew the ship now, every corridor, every system, every weakness. The scared diplomatic aide was gone. The mask was off. What remained was something that the hegemony had never encountered, something humanity had built over centuries of blood and fire and survival. Sam opened his eyes. War was awake. High Counselor stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched the stars through the main viewport. His ship was the pride of the fleet. 300 crew members, 50 elite guards, weapons that could crack open a moon. He had never felt more powerful. "Contact the human ambassador," ordered. "It's time to remind him what happens to those who defy the hegemony." The communication screen flickered to life. Daniel Carter appeared, sitting calmly in his quarters on Nexus Prime. He looked exactly as he had in the council chamber, controlled, patient, unafraid. "Ambassador said, your time grows short. 8 hours remain. Surrender the colonies or your son will suffer." "Have you heard him?" Daniel asked quietly. "Not yet, but my guards are eager. Young humans are fragile, aren't they? So easy to break." "High Counselor," Daniel leaned forward slightly. "I'm going to say this once. Return my son unharmed, right now. Do this and we can pretend this never happened. The incident will be forgotten. Earth will not seek punishment." Laughed. "You threaten me with what? Your primitive ships are days away. Your species has no power here. You are nothing." "This is not a threat. This is information. My son asked me to give you this chance. One chance. I'm honoring his request. Your son begged and cried when my guards took him. He's weak like all humans." Something shifted in Daniel's eyes. Just for a moment, something cold and old looked out at. Then it was gone. "I see," Daniel said. "Then let me speak to him, directly. If he's as broken as you claim, surely there's no harm in it." Considered this. The human was clearly desperate. Seeing his frightened son might push him toward surrender. There was no risk. "Very well," said. "Bring the prisoner to the bridge." 5 minutes later, Sam Carter was escorted onto the bridge by 4 guards. His hands were bound in front of him. His hair was messy and his eyes were down. He looked exactly like a scared young man being paraded before his captors. Gestured to the communication screen. "Your father wishes to speak to you. Perhaps you can convince him to be reasonable." Sam looked at the screen. Daniel looked back at him. "Hey, Dad," Sam said softly. "Hey, son, are you all right?" "I'm okay. They haven't hurt me yet." "Good, that's good." Daniel paused. "Sam, I gave them the warning. They didn't listen." Sam nodded slowly. "I figured they wouldn't." "It's your choice now. What do you want to do?" Watch this exchange with confusion. This wasn't how hostage situations worked. The father should be begging. The son should be crying. Instead, they were talking like 2 soldiers planning a mission. Sam was quiet for a moment. Then he looked directly at. The fear was gone from his eyes. Something else had taken its place. "High Counselor," Sam said. "My father gave you his warning. Now I'm going to give you mine." Felt a strange sensation he didn't recognize. Later, he would realize it was the beginning of fear. "You are my prisoner," said. "You don't give warnings, you beg." "No, I don't." Sam's voice changed. It was harder now, colder. "I'm going to give you a choice. Release me right now and only the soldiers who touched me when they dragged me from the council chamber will die. That's 4 people, 4 deaths, and this ends." The bridge went silent. "Are you insane?" hissed. "You're bound, surrounded, you have nothing." "I have enough." Sam tilted his head slightly. "Refuse my offer, and I will show you why my people spent 10,000 years killing each other before we ever reached the stars. I will show you why we invented the word war before we invented the wheel. I will show you what humanity really is." "You're bluffing. You're a diplomat's son. An aide, nothing more. My name is Sam Carter. My service number is 7742 Sierra. Maya's Reaper. Sam smiled, and there was nothing human in it. I have killed more living beings in single missions than your entire guard force has killed in their careers combined. I retired because I was tired of the blood, because I wanted to be something else, but you dragged me back. Scales had gone pale. He didn't believe it. He couldn't believe it. This was a trick, a bluff. Humans were weak. Kill him, ordered. Kill him now. The guards raised their weapons. Sam moved his bound hands to his belt. The guards hadn't searched him properly. Why would they? He was just a frightened human boy. He pressed a button on a device. No one had noticed him build from parts he'd gathered during his conversations with. Wiring from the food tray. A power cell from the bench's heating element. Simple components that meant nothing alone. Together, they meant everything. The lights on the bridge died. Emergency power flickered once, then failed. The entire ship went dark. In the communication screen's last moment before it went black, Daniel Carter looked at his son. "Good luck," Daniel said. "I won't need it," Sam replied. Then there was only darkness. And in that darkness, something ancient woke up. Something bred into human bones over thousands of years of survival. The part of humanity that had climbed out of caves and conquered a world. The part that turned fear into focus, weakness into weapon, pain into purpose. The guards couldn't see. Their eyes needed light. Sam's didn't. He had trained in darkness until it felt like home. He heard the guards moving, confused, scared. Their claws scraped against the floor as they tried to find him. He was already gone. In the corridors outside the bridge, crew members shouted in confusion. The power failure had locked down most systems. Doors were sealed. Communications were dead. No one knew what was happening. They would learn soon. Sam moved through the darkness like smoke. His bound hands found the nearest guard. 3 strikes. Pressure points that would stop a human heart. Anatomy was different, but he had asked about that too. The guard fell without a sound. Sam took his weapon and his blade. Then he began to hunt. Far away on the edge of space, Admiral's fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel. 30 ships, weapons armed, shields raised. Stood on his bridge and stared at the tactical display. "Sir," his communications officer said, "the flagship just went dark, all systems offline." Nodded slowly, he started. "What are your orders, sir?" "We hold position. Nothing gets out. Nothing sends a message. If any ship tries to leave that system, destroy it." "Sir, they will consider that an act of war." "No, Lieutenant." His voice was tired. "They committed an act of war when they touched that boy. What's happening now is the consequence." He sat down in his command chair and waited. On the flagship, the screaming had begun. The darkness was total. Emergency systems had failed. Backup generators stayed silent. The flagship drifted through space like a tomb. But inside that tomb, something was moving. Sam Carter flowed through the corridors like water through cracks. He made no sound. He left no trace except the bodies. The first squad of guards found him at Junction 7. Or rather, he found them. 6 soldiers with weapons drawn, scales pale with fear, eyes searching desperately for the threat they couldn't see. They heard nothing. Then one of them fell, then another, then the rest. It took 8 seconds. Sam didn't fight like they expected. There was no warning, no challenge, no honor display like warriors performed before combat. He simply appeared from the darkness, struck at the places where bodies were weakest and disappeared again. He had asked about anatomy during their conversations, where the nerve clusters were, where the scales were thinnest, where a blade would do the most damage. Had answered every question. He never imagined why Sam was asking. In the medical bay, the ship's doctor heard the screams through the walls. He sealed himself inside and prayed to whatever gods believed in. In the engine room, the chief engineer tried to restore power. Every time she reconnected a conduit, it failed again. Something had damaged the system in too many places, something that knew exactly where to strike. On the bridge, High Counselor huddled behind his command chair. 20 of his best guards surrounded him in a defensive circle. They had sealed the bridge doors. They had armed every weapon they carried. None of it would matter. Sam worked his way through the ship deck by deck. He didn't rush. He didn't need to. They couldn't call for help. They couldn't escape. They couldn't even see. But he could see them. He could hear their heartbeats through the walls. He could smell their fear in the recycled air. This was what humanity had built him to be. This was the weapon they had created and then tried to hide away. 10,000 years of evolution, 100 generations of survivors, all of it focused into a single purpose. He reached the detention level and found pressed against the wall outside his cell. The young guard was shaking. His weapon hung loose in his hand. He wasn't guarding the cell anymore. He was hiding. Sam said softly, screamed and swung his weapon blindly. Sam caught his arm and held it still. "Stop, it's me." "Please," whispered, "please don't kill me. I was kind to you, I brought you food. I talked to you, please." "I know," Sam's voice was gentle, "that's why you're still alive." He took his weapon and guided him toward a supply closet. "Stay here. Don't come out until the lights come back on. Don't try to help anyone, don't try to fight. Just stay hidden and quiet. Can you do that?" Yes, I can do that." Sam locked the closet door from the outside. The metal was thick enough to muffle sounds. Wouldn't hear what came next. That was a kindness. 17 minutes after the lights went out, Sam reached the bridge. The doors were sealed, reinforced metal 3 inches thick, designed to withstand boarding actions and explosive breaches. Sam didn't try to break through. He didn't need to. He climbed into the ventilation system instead. It was a tight fit. He had to dislocate his left shoulder to squeeze through the narrowest section. The pain was distant, unimportant. Pain was just information. It told him things were happening. It didn't control him. He dropped from the ceiling vent into the center of the bridge. 20 guards spun toward the sound. 20 weapons fired into the darkness. But Sam wasn't where they were shooting. He had already moved. The fight on the bridge lasted 2 minutes and 14 seconds. In military terms, that was called a prolonged engagement. Sam made it last that long on purpose. He wanted to hear it. He wanted the High Counselor to listen as his best soldiers fell one by one, to understand that nothing could save him, to feel the fear that he had tried to use against Sam's father. When the last guard collapsed, Sam stood in the darkness and listened to his breathing. It was fast and shallow, the breathing of prey that knows the predator is close. "High Counselor," Sam said, "I believe we should talk." "Stay back," his voice cracked. "Stay away from me. You offered my father 12 hours to surrender. You promised to hurt me if he refused. You laughed when he warned you." Sam moved closer. Each step was silent. "I gave you a chance too. I offered you 4 deaths. You chose this instead. You're a monster." "No, I'm a human." Sam stopped moving. He was close now, close enough to touch. "We're all monsters, High Counselor. We just hide it better than most species. We smile and shake hands and talk about peace because we know what happens when we stop pretending." "What do you want?" "I want you to understand. I want you to remember this moment for the rest of your life, however long that is." Sam reached into his pocket and produced a small device. He pressed a button, and dim emergency lighting flickered to life across the bridge. Saw the floor covered with his guards. They weren't dead. Sam had left most of them alive, but they would never fight again. They would never walk again. Some of them would never stop screaming in their sleep. Then saw Sam. The human was covered in violet blood. His shirt was torn. His hands were steady and empty now, his weapons discarded. There was a new wound on his forearm where a guard had gotten lucky. He looked small, young, fragile. But his eyes were old. His eyes had seen things that would break most minds. His eyes held no hatred, no anger, no joy, only a terrible patience. "I'm going to recite some names now," Sam said. "These are the soldiers who touched me when your guards dragged me from the council chamber, the ones who grabbed my arms, the one who pushed me when I stumbled, the one who laughed." He spoke 4 names. "I found each of them during my walk through your ship. I promised they would die if you refused my offer." Sam paused. "I keep my promises." Vomited. "Now," Sam continued calmly, "we have a choice to make. You can surrender. You can apologize to my father and to humanity. You can pay whatever reparations the Galactic Council decides. If you do this, no one else dies. Your ship will be towed back to space. Your crew will survive. Your hegemony will survive. And if I refuse, then I'll finish what I started. And when the human fleet arrives, they'll find nothing but bodies and a lesson." Looked at the human standing before him. This small, fragile creature that had torn through his ship like wind through leaves. This diplomat's son who had killed some of his best warriors with his bare hands. "You could have killed me already," said slowly. "Why didn't you?" "Because killing you would be easy. Making you live with this is harder." Sam tilted his head. "My people have a saying, High Counselor. Those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. I want you to learn. I want you to go back to your hegemony and tell them what happened here. I want you to warn them." "Warn them about what?" "About us." Sam smiled, and this time it almost looked human. Almost. "About what happens when you touch our children. About what we become when you give us no other choice." Fell to his knees. "I surrender," he whispered. Sam nodded slowly. He pulled a communication device from one of the fallen guards and activated it. Static crackled, then cleared. "This is Sam Carter calling Ambassador Daniel Carter. The High Counselor has agreed to discuss terms." His father's voice came through, calm and unsurprised. "I'll inform the council. Well done, son." "Thanks, Dad," Sam looked down at. "We should probably talk about the apology terms. I think they should be significant." "I agree. Come home when you're ready." Sam ended the call and sat down on the bridge floor. His shoulder was still dislocated. His arm was still bleeding. His body ached from a dozen minor wounds. But the monster was quiet now. The mission was complete. He was just Sam again. For now, the Galactic Council chamber had never been so quiet. Every seat was filled. Every species was represented. They had all come to witness something that had never happened before in galactic history. The hegemony was apologizing. High Counselor stood at the central podium. He looked older than he had a week ago. His scales had lost their shine. His eyes never stopped moving, never stopped checking the shadows in the corners of the room. "On behalf of the hegemony," said, his voice flat and empty, "I formally apologize for the unlawful seizure of a human citizen on neutral ground. I apologize for the threat of violence against a diplomatic aide. I apologize for the violation of council law and the sacred traditions of this station." He paused. His claws gripped the podium hard enough to leave marks. "The hegemony accepts full responsibility. We will pay reparations as determined by the council. We withdraw all claims to the 3 human colony worlds. We recognize humanity's territorial rights without condition." The chamber remained silent. No one whispered, no one moved. Finished reading his prepared statement and stepped down from the podium. He walked past the human delegation without looking at them. He couldn't look at them. He couldn't look at Sam. Sam sat in the same observation area where the guards had taken him. He wore a clean suit. His arm was bandaged beneath his sleeve. His shoulder had been reset by human medics. He looked exactly like what he was supposed to be again, a quiet young man learning his father's trade. But now everyone knew the truth. After the session ended, the chamber slowly emptied. Alien diplomats hurried away to contact their home worlds. Emergency meetings were scheduled. Intelligence reports were requested. Everyone wanted to know the same thing. How had they missed this? How had they failed to understand what humans really were? Ambassador Daniel Carter remained in his seat until most of the chamber was empty. Then he stood and walked to where his son was waiting. "How are you feeling?" Daniel asked. "Tired," Sam shrugged with his good shoulder. "I'll be okay. It wasn't as bad as." "Nothing is as bad as." They stood together in comfortable silence for a moment. "I met a young guard named," Sam said, "on the ship. He was kind to me. I made sure he survived." "I know. He asked to send you a message. He wanted to thank you." "For what?" "For not killing him, for locking him somewhere safe." Daniel paused. "He also wanted you to know that he understands why you did what you did. He doesn't blame you." Sam nodded slowly. He didn't say anything, but something in his expression softened just a little. A diplomat approached them carefully. They were tall and thin, with silver skin and large dark eyes. They were known as philosophers and scholars, not warriors. "Ambassador Carter," they said, "may I speak with you privately?" "Of course, Counselor." They stepped away from the main area. Sam watched from a distance but didn't follow. "I have questions," Counselor said quietly, "about your species, about what happened on that ship." "I'll answer what I can." "How do you live with it?" This voice was genuinely confused. "We studied your history after the incident. We found records of your wars, your conflicts, the death tolls." She shook her head. "You have killed more of your own kind than most species have total population. How do you carry such violence inside you and still function?" Daniel was quiet for a long moment. He looked at his son standing alone in the observation area, young and tired. "We don't live with it," Daniel said finally. "We fight it, every single day. Every law we write is a victory against what we could become. Every treaty we sign, every hand we shake, every time we choose to talk instead of fight. But the violence is still there." "Yes, it's always there, waiting." Daniel turned back to "That's why we work so hard at peace, Counselor. Not because we're naturally peaceful, because we know exactly what we are when peace fails. Your son, the one called Reaper, he killed dozens of trained soldiers in less than 20 minutes, alone in the dark. How is that possible? Because he's human, because we spent 10,000 years learning how to kill each other before we ever reached for the stars, because every war we fought taught us new ways to survive." Daniel's voice was heavy. "My son isn't special, Counselor. He's just what happens when a human has no other choice, when the mask comes off and the monster wakes up." Counselor was silent for a long time. Then she said, "We will need to reconsider our approach to humanity." "I hope you do, not because we want to be feared, but because we want to be understood." She nodded and walked away. Daniel returned to Sam. Together, they left the council chamber and walked through the station toward the human section. Other aliens watched them pass. Some looked curious, some looked afraid. A few looked at Sam with something that might have been respect. None of them tried to block the path. 1 week later, a new alien delegation arrived at Nexus Prime. They were called a species from the far edge of the galaxy. They had heard rumors about the incident and wanted to open trade negotiations with humanity. The delegation entered the main reception hall where the human diplomats waited. Ambassador Carter stood at the front, calm and professional as always. Behind him, Sam sat in his usual place, quiet, unremarkable, just an aide taking notes. The ambassador was large and covered in thick brown fur. She had traveled a long way to reach this station. She had heard stories about humans on the journey, stories that seemed impossible. Her assistant leaned close and whispered, "Is that him, the one they call Reaper?" The ambassador looked at Sam. He was small compared to most species. His eyes were soft. He walked with a slight limp. He smiled politely when he noticed them looking. "Yes," the ambassador said quietly, "that's him. He doesn't look dangerous." "No, he doesn't." The ambassador straightened her posture and prepared to greet the human delegation. "Remember what I told you about humans. They don't win conflicts by being the strongest or the fastest. They win by being the ones willing to do whatever it takes, by being the ones who never give up, by being the ones who hide monsters behind gentle smiles." Her assistant shuddered. "What do we do?" "We be polite, we be honest, we treat them with respect." The ambassador moved forward to shake Ambassador Carter's hand, "and we never, ever give them a reason to stop pretending." The trade negotiations went well. They were respectful and fair. They asked no questions about the incident with the... They didn't need to. The lesson had already spread across the galaxy. After the meeting, Sam stood alone by a window and looked out at the stars. His father found him there. "You okay?" Daniel asked. "Yeah," Sam touched the new scar on his forearm. "Just thinking." "About what?" "About whether I can ever really stop being what they made me. Whether the monster ever goes away or if it's just waiting. Forever." Daniel stood beside his son and looked at the same stars. "I don't know, Sam. I wish I did. But I know this. Every day you choose peace is a victory. Every day you don't become that thing again is proof that you're more than what they built." "What if I can't choose? What if someone else decides for me like they did?" "Then you do what you have to do, and when it's over you put the mask back on and try again." Daniel put his hand on Sam's good shoulder. "That's what being human means. We carry the darkness, but we don't let it define us. We keep trying to be better. We keep choosing peace." Sam nodded slowly. He didn't smile, but some of the weight seemed to lift from his shoulders. They stood together in silence, father and son, watching the stars. Behind them the galaxy continued to turn. Treaties were signed. Wars were planned. Species rose and fell. And somewhere in all of it, humanity kept moving forward, smiling their gentle smiles, offering their peaceful hands, hiding the fire that had forged them into something the galaxy had never seen before. War given flesh. Peace given form. Human.